Thank you very much, Ron. All right. Welcome, Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson, and welcome to the June 21st, 2023 Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. We've got a pretty full agenda today, so we're just going to go ahead and be about the people's business. We have to take roll call first, and then we'll get some administrative things out of the way, and then we'll get into the meat of the committee matters today. All right, so we'll go around the room. Just for the public, we have to do all of our votes that we may cast or anything. We have to render it by our voices and our name just for the record. So it may be, we don't have the automatic button here in this particular capacity, but it's a process that works to make sure we got the meeting minutes right and accurate and who did what. So we'll start with roll call. I'll start with myself. We'll go around the room. As you guys know, I'm Kelly Robinson. I'm the chair of this committee. Present.
Ron Roberts, Connect Douglas Director, present.
Suleiman Rana, Director DOT, present.
Director Cowart, Public Works, present.
Is Matt Macy out there? Tiffany?
She's not here, sir.
All right, no problem. And Mr. Chair, you got to weigh in officially.
Okay, Phil Miller, the Chairman of the Board of Douglas County, and I'm here.
Very good. Mr. Chair, you are a voting member by default, being in this seat. So we do have a quorum officially. And so we're just going to go ahead and get started. Director Suleiman Rana, please go ahead and take it to our first matter, which should be the meeting minutes.
Yes, sir. The first action item is approval of the May 16th meeting minutes.
All right, guys. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes. And with that being said, if there's no edits, additions, or corrections to it, for the record, we'll go around the room for concurrence to adopt the meeting minutes as presented. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
Phil Miller, yes.
All right. We have concurrence to adopt the meeting minutes as is. All right. Let's keep going, sir.
All right. So the first item we have is from Connect Douglas. Director Roberts, do you have your presenter?
Yes, we do. Danielle's here. And just, if I may,
Director Roberts.
point of order, just real quickly, I wanted to update why we don't have any transit master plan, just because we're planning a huge outreach next. Well, we've been doing the outreach, but we're rolling out a lot of information for next month, and that includes a meeting with the full Board of Commissioners after the work session on, I believe it's July the 17th or 18th. We've gotten over 1,700 responses back, and we're still engaging with the public, still moving forward. A lot of activities around that. I just wanted to tell you. But today we have Danielle Cherry Hoover from the collaborative firm to give some feedback and share on our ridership data. Danielle?
Danielle, welcome. Greetings. Good afternoon. And you have the floor.
My apologies, I'm on mute. Good afternoon. I am not going to have my video on as to not delay. So please let me know if you can see my screen, and Director Rana, if you don't mind, may I?
Yes, I've stopped sharing. You should be good now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Your screen's up.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to just give brief updates from the last time we were all together at the last month's transportation committee meeting. The big story for 2023 is consecutive growth. For the first 5 months of 2023, there has been an increase in ridership. So again, for those who may have missed last meeting, those who are listening in, what we do is compare or comp over last year's information, meaning 2022. So the information that you see on the screen or that I'm referring to are comp years. or comp months. So since February of 2022 until May of 23, there have been 16 consecutive months of ridership growth. And just again, comping month to month, May of 22 versus May of 23, there's been 39% increase. And what does that mean? That means 3,000, to be specific, 3,246 additional riders over the comping the first few months of the year that you see in that very last bullet point. So what is that telling us? Those who are currently riding enjoy and increase their level of ridership, and we also have new participation. So visually, this is what it is over the first 5 months from January to May. Again, as you see, over 2022. And just as a side note, May has been the largest ridership month of 2023 thus far. Other data points, again, speaking of growth, you see in front of you is the phone logs or phone log reports. So this information, as well as the ridership information, not only comes from the third-party bus operator, Transitions Commute Solutions, but we've been working internally with Douglas County IS system, IS department. So thank you to them for their information. So we've been looking at phone logs since March. So that had been done manually with transitions. So that's why you see March and you do not see January. So when you call in, or when someone calls into Connect Douglas, the number at the top, 770-949-7665, there's a phone tree. So someone can be directed to the right location for their request. Just background, option 1 is Flexer ADA Paratransit. Option 2 is Transitions Commute Solutions. 3 is the Mobility Coordinator. And 4 is Customer Service, or the front desk of Connect Douglas. So that option 2, I want to give note in the green there, that's increased. So that option number 2 and the phone tree number 4 are those riders or those residents, participants, or those interested in Connect Douglas transit services are hitting those options. So May is the largest over the past 3 months of data collection for transitions, and then option 4 is another area of growth. So other data points, digital. We have a business page for Connect Douglas. Not only that is an opportunity for additional visibility. As you know, a lot of people use Google as a search engine to get where they need to go via apps or grab information. So what you see is January to May, over 6,000 people or total views for the Connect Douglas business page. Total searches, almost about 2,000 to date, and that is someone actually searching in the search engine, whether it's Connect Douglas, bus system, etc. 910 folks actually clicked on that website link that you see, and then 368 folks are clicked on the directions link. And out of the digital space or the Google business page, the majority of folks, 64% of users utilize their phones or smart devices or mobile devices for Connect Douglas. So the one good thing is if people are out and about, they can still utilize or find the information that they need. 27% utilize desktop, and the remainder are on Google Maps, whether it's desktop or mobile device. Just very briefly, engagement, as Director Roberts just mentioned, the last push for surveys was most recently at the 2 Juneteenth celebrations in regards to the PMP. So that information was at both locations, and of course, as well as transit services information and all things Connect Douglas at those two separate locations just this past weekend. And one other thing that I want to make of note is July the 19th, we are having a DBE workshop with more information to be announced very soon. So please stay tuned to connectdouglas.com, and there'll be a press release, etc. We're finalizing details, but that DBE is a workshop in collaboration and partnership with Douglas County SPLOST, of course, Connect Douglas and the procurement department. And the goal of the July 19th is to further educate and give opportunities for those who may not have those NAICS codes to participate in Connect Douglas projects for the triennial, get them certified to actually participate in those projects, to get questions answered, and to give more information and give more information. So with that, I say thank you, and I pause for any questions or comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for the data, which is always important to me for us to make decisions. Seems like ridership is steady. As you said, growth, but it's steady. We're recognizing that, and Director Roberts joined this conversation, we recognize that getting feedback from the public is always important. In other words, priorities and our goals are tied to their expressed desires and their input into the process. So I heard you say we're roughly around 1,700 people getting feedback. You're going to come before the full board. Fine, I won't get ahead of that. But you mentioned July 19th. Will there be a presence in July 4th parade this year? Are we having a parade? Do y'all know?
I don't know,
All right.
Commissioner. I think usually the city organizes the July 4th parade.
I understand.
I haven't thought about it, but that, we're welcome to do that.
All right, just make a note, Danielle. There's always a landing spot. We wind up at some park, or where the ending point of this is. You guys will figure it out. But this year there's going to be a nice turnout for the parade. What I hear, and so I just want. Again, it is the city, but we do participate. The 4th of July parade is something that the county embraces. We don't just say it's the city. It's an important vehicle. So to that point, I know if you don't necessarily partake of those things, you may not know, and it's okay. But Daniel, make a note of that, please. July 4th parade, please.
Yes, sir.
My last point that I wanted to bring up about DBEs, and we had this conversation recently. Director Roberts, remind me, but we also have the public hearing going on right now for the DBE for Connect Douglas and FTA. Aren't we going through that process right now on a hearing for that?
Yes, sir, we are. We're in that 45-day period, which will include end of July, just in time for us to finish it up. And we have a workshop planned, very much akin to what the outreach effort that was done for doing business in Douglas County that you mentioned at the work session yesterday, I believe. We are doing a smaller version of that with some of the same participants. David Good's been involved. I see he's on the call. Danielle has been involved, working to make sure that we have a good presence, make sure that we have individuals here that can help with these small businesses, even if they're not DBEs. We will be open. And we're using the multimodal transportation center, the training room right down the hall from where I'm sitting, and also we'll be using the other offices for individuals that want help with learning how to register for DBE certification.
All right, so to that point, this is a comment that was made about, Mr. Chair, you made it yesterday, which is, again, it's okay that people are able to bid on our contracts and outside the state or outside our footprint here in Douglas, but we have to create the atmosphere for those who don't know this yet, so they can grow their own enterprise. They can, you got to grow up to be able to bid on some of these larger projects, but get in the game, learn how to partner, and do things like that to grow yourself up. So, Mr. Chair, these are just a couple of events that are put on by the county. They're creative, but the whole point is to create the atmosphere so the local guys can get out there and pave those roads and help supplement Heath's team or whatever the case may be. I mean, I think sounds good. We create the atmosphere. Somebody's going to get awarded this. I'd like it to have localized, but for anything dealing with transportation, it's a little bit stronger lift. It's not like open up a website that I can just jump out there. There is certain thresholds and conditions to just be registered or to even become considered and qualified. But there is a process, and so these guys are sitting here, and they've got some rock stars that have participated over the years. That's going to be here. So I'm looking forward to the public. Again, there are opportunities, but they've got to do their part and put themselves in a position to compete for these contracts. But a lot of times I just don't know where to go. I don't know how to get that information. So we try to create these educational platforms. So I'm gonna keep this going, Daniel. Thanks so much. Mr. Chair, you got any comments on this, or are you okay? Because we typically just roll through my.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I think it's awesome that we're trying our best to get local involvement.
Yes, sir.
I hope we're successful at it.
Sounds good. You got that, Director Roberts? Keep going.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty. If there's nothing else from our transit group, Director Ronald, your next speaker.
Yes, sir. The next item is Public Works updates, and for that we have Director Roberts. Heath, you have the floor.
Here we go. Thank you. It's Director Cowart. And so it is Robert Heath Cowart. It's not a problem. You wasn't incorrect there, sir. So real quick, what we have today is let's see, what's his official account executive, Taji Broderick from Enterprise. We've been talking to him about looking at a possible lease of the entire fleet. We've talked with Enterprise several times in the past, and I know that Vice Chair Robinson has been a part of that conversation. And I just want to say that, you know, due to the communication problem we had in the past, it was difficult to come to an agreement, and I feel like we have come to a very good agreement. I feel like this new representative brings a lot more to the table, so I want y'all to have him with us. He's going to go over his outline and pitch, and if you have any questions or concerns at the end of that, obviously we are ready. I brought out all the stops to answer your questions, so that's kind of our main focus point for today. So, Mr. Broderick, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Douglas County, for having me here today. With me, I do have Eddie Simon. He's going to be our area manager. He's here to support me just in case you guys, I knew there's going to be a lot of you on the call, so I just want to make sure I had a little bit of backup here for you. All right. So like Heath was saying, this meeting here is just so I can go ahead and update you all with the program that we are proposing for Douglas County. I know that some of you all have met with us in the past, but I did want to go ahead and update you for the current numbers, as the last time you met with us was a few years ago, and there were a few different circumstances. So to start us off, like I said, this meeting is very informative. It's more so for me to let you guys know exactly what is going on for the fleet program, and then more so for you guys to ask me any questions that you may have, so that way we can clear any confusion that there may be. So what's currently going with the County of Douglas, your guys' current fleet age is pretty much negatively impacting your overall budget and your fleet operations. So about 76% of your vehicles are currently 10 years or older. 24% of the light duty, medium duty fleet is currently 6 years or older. And your current fleet age is about 15 years old. So with your current fleet age being 15 years old, it will roughly take you guys about 30 years to fully replace every vehicle that's in your cycle today. All right. So our main objective in partnering with you guys is to identify the right vehicle life cycle to the correct vehicle life cycle that maximizes potential equity at the time of resale. And we would look to have create a conservative savings of roughly $628,000 over 10 years, right? And we plan to do that by shortening your vehicle life cycle from 30 years to 4 years, right? And that would, in turn, by replacing your older vehicles, it would reduce your maintenance costs from roughly $280 a vehicle to $44 a vehicle. Are there any questions so far?
Yeah, I do. This is Commissioner Robinson. My question is just for the record. When you talk about fleet, and we have some people who are. This is a live meeting, and so just for the background, when you talk to fleet to us, what does that mean? What type of vehicle are you referring to? What's a fleet? What's
Yes. Yep. So we can handle all vehicles that are under 26 gross vehicle weight. So that's going to be pretty much every light duty, medium duty vehicle in your fleet. If you wanted to take vehicle numbers, for instance, you can say anything less than a Ford 750, your 7500s for your Chevys and your Ram products.
All right, so just hold just for a second. I've got to talk Douglas County language. All right, so Director Cowher, so is this fleet? Are we talking about our sheriff's cars? Are we talking about just fleet associated with transit? Are we talking about fleet that's associated with the backhoes and stuff? I mean, what's in the fleet? I'm still not hearing what is the actual what are we replacing? Is it a Tahoe? Is it what are we replacing here?
Okay, so no, it does not count the sheriff's department vehicles. They have their own fleet manager. We still do maintenance on those, but the buying and purchasing and leasing goes through them. This would be all other departments minus the heavy equipment or fire trucks. So we're looking at like a total of, I have no idea, what that was 1,200 vehicles in total. 42 now. And 42 would be on this first initial lease option. Does that make sense? So we would phase it in, and the first phase would be 42 vehicles is what we're looking at. So basically, to answer your question, sir, it's everything but sheriff's cars and fire department, fire trucks, heavy equipment.
All right, so you're including the fire trucks too?
No, sir.
All right, I didn't think so. Heavy equipment. All right, got it. Never mind. All right, so let me say, folks, this is a good conversation. So thank you for creating this topical moment.
Yes,
So
sir.
I want to make sure I heard you right. You said 1,200 vehicles, right? That we're talking about right here.
That's full fleet right now.
That's fine. No, 1,200. So Mr. Chair, so the sheriff has at least 300 vehicles. Let's say it's one per person. That's in his whole staff, just for the sake of the conversation. So that's all others is 1,200. The sheriff is 300. So I didn't know we had that many vehicles. We got 1,500 employees and roughly, and then this is close to that. I'm just getting an order of magnitude. So I did not know we had that many vehicles beyond the sheriff's. Like, wow. All right, so this is an important topic. This has a monetary value that's got my attention. All right, sir, keep going. I think I got the background. I just had to do that for the record and for everybody, my committee. Keep going. I'm listening.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is to share my screen to show you how everything will play out for you. A second here. And you guys should be able to see the screen now. Perfect. All right, so this is going to be the 10-year model that will be presented to the board. And this is where I want to make sure that we answer all questions if there is any questions. So what I'll do is read this from the very top of the screen to where it says current fleet, and we'll go to the bottom.
Go for it. Lead me through
All right.
it. All right.
So you guys currently have in the fleet that was sent over, you guys have 185 vehicles. It would currently take you 30 years to replace all 185 vehicles. Out of the 185 vehicles, you guys have an average monthly maintenance cost per vehicle of $281. By coming to our program, we're recommending that you guys defleet. So that means you guys have some underutilized vehicles. So we're recommending that you guys decrease from 185 to 179 vehicles. By joining our program and replacing vehicles, we would reduce your current cycle time of 30 years to 4 years. And by replacing your older vehicles with newer vehicles, that will decrease your maintenance cost from $281 to $44.50. Any questions there from anyone?
You said 180. I got, make it down to 179. But that's not the entire fleet, right? That's not the 12. This is one component of it.
So these are the vehicles that were sent over that they qualify for our program. I know Chief just said.
Gotcha. All right, so that's context. Now we cooking. So now we're back down to so the target is just the base 180. What about everything else? We're saying that right now for this program, this is what qualifies. So the other ones we just have to keep maintaining as we are.
So the other vehicles,
them as is.
Yeah, so we partner with sheriff departments as well. So if we would like to include sheriff departments to this model can be adjusted to have sheriff departments as well. We cover everything that's under 26,000 gross vehicle weight. So that's a pretty big portion of your vehicles. Now I know you guys have some compactors and some bigger vehicles there, like your hose and things, but those we wouldn't really touch. But everything else we can handle for you.
Can you handle a Tahoe?
Oh yes, sir. As long as it's not over 26,000 pounds.
Okay, yeah, I don't know the magnitude, but okay. All right, keep going down your plan. Go ahead, we're listening.
All right, so what I'd like you guys to focus on now is this very first line that says average in yellow. This is what you guys are currently doing today. So you guys have 185 vehicles, and based off of the years of your vehicles, we're showing that you guys are purchasing on average 6 vehicles per year, right? So you guys have 185 vehicles, and to purchase 6 vehicles, it's going to cost you guys roughly $203,474 to purchase 6 vehicles. Out of 185 vehicles for the year, you guys are spending $624,000 on maintenance, $453,000 on fuel, leaving you with an entire budget of $1.2 million for your entire budget for 1 year. Okay? So by coming to our program, what we're saying is that by reducing your fleet in year one, reduce your fleet from 185 to 179 vehicles. We've already identified 40 vehicles that need to be replaced. That will leave you with owning 139 vehicles, and you'll be leasing those 40 vehicles from Enterprise. So that lease cost to lease 40 vehicles is going to be $340,000. All right. Now, what you'll see in the next line, it says equity parentheses owned. Then you'll see a negative $44,400. This is going to come from the sale of those initial 40 vehicles that we are replacing. So we're going to take the funds that we take from selling those vehicles, and we're going to put it back into the fleet. All right. The maintenance costs will decrease from $624,000 to $490,000 because you'll replace those 40 vehicles. Your fuel will decrease down to $421,000, leaving you with a fleet budget of $1.2 million for your very first year. So just in your first year, you'll be saving $72,000 in cash from what you're currently doing today. Any questions with that very first line?
No, keep going.
Okay. So the model plays out year by year for you, and we go ahead and show it represented 10 years for the government purposes. Obviously, it's very hard to predict what will be happening in 2030, but we do like to go ahead and show the representation of that. But keep in mind the numbers will fluctuate just based off of interest rates and other things going on in today's market. Usually I have a lot more questions than this, and this is a very quiet group here.
No,
Maybe it's because right after lunch and everyone's full.
No, we're following. No, we're listening. You're doing very good, Roderick. Keep going. You're doing good.
Okay.
Keep explaining. Keep going.
Okay, so at this point here, typically this is when, like I said, this is when a lot of the questions come about. But what we're suggesting now is that I'm not sure exactly what your process is here with the County of Douglas, but typically what we do is once we have this meeting here, we would go to the board, have a workshop to uncover any other questions that we'd have. With our program, what we would do is we would initially order your vehicles for you, and then you guys will be partnered with a client strategy manager who will meet with you 4 to 5 times throughout the year to uncover any vehicles that you need in the upcoming years, show you everything that you've done year over year as well. Any questions regarding the program? Any questions regarding numbers? Is this just sense to everyone?
Yeah, all right, so no, fair enough. And so this, you're in a government committee meeting right now with the public before us. You now just think about like a hearing, and you just presented something to us. We had to let you get to the end of it, so then now I can step back and call upon my committee members just to weigh in on this. So won't you just pause there for a second, and then we'll come back and accordingly. Let me just see how my members, if they've got any thoughts. So, Mr. Chair, yeah, you'll get the last word, of course. But guys, everybody else, voting members, and David Good, thank you for being here as a support. Pay attention to this one, David. We'll come back to it later. All right, so to the committee members that are voting, any thoughts? Director Rana, Ron, I really want to hear you guys' thoughts on this broadly. Weigh in, please.
Hey,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying, what this plan was to phase in, this leasing program as a whole. So, you know, our numbers are phasing in over 4 years before we're complete, as far as 100% of vehicles, being leased vehicles. And we looked at the ones that needed replacing the most based on, their use, if that makes sense. So this is a model that he explained, and it can be adjusted however we need to. I just wanted to get them here at the table, talking, and if there's anything you don't see that you want, let us know, and we can go back to it. We can draft it in there, we can change it, we can look at it, manipulate it, and then present it to the board or come back to you, whichever you prefer.
No, thank you for that, Director Coward. No, there was good context. Again, so that triggered a thought just for clarity then. So you said there's 185 down to 179. All right, we got this initial target group. I heard 40 vehicles out the gate out of the 180, if I'm not, or whatever that on average number. So what about the rest? Is that so that 40 out the gate day one? We're gonna have 40 new vehicles. What is the delivery time for that? If the board did agree, if it did make the full platform of the board, they did vote to do this, how long would it take for us to get our vehicles from a yes?
Would be within the first year.
So we'll get these vehicles in the first year?
Yes, sir. That 40, is that correct?
That's correct. So if we can, order banks are starting to open now. We were looking to have this completed by the beginning of August, and that will put us right before that window of when manufacturers begin to open their order banks. So that will give us within the year.
Oh, end of year.
Within the first year. Within
a year. So it could take up to 12 months.
Anywhere between 6 to 9 months, typically.
Okay, no, this is good. These are facts. That's all we look for. Okay, so Ms. Chair, 6 to 9 months. We're only doing 40 initially out the gate. They're going to phase in the rest to complete that first initial round. Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. I just want to hear somebody else's thoughts. Director Rana, Robert.
Yes, sir.
Y'all weigh in on it. I mean, are we talking about this structure right now? Is that the right vehicles? It's not a yes, no moment per se, but just is everything here for us to consider sending it forward?
Understood. And I certainly want to acknowledge that aging fleet is definitely an issue that I've personally observed too around departments. So definitely want to acknowledge Director Heath and Ross Clark's efforts in putting this together. The question I had was from the presentation. It showed that, let's say we assume that we're going to maintain 179 vehicles for the next 4 years or more. With that, the budget increased from $1.2 million to $1.4 million. We should potentially be looking at savings. How does the budget go up for our fleet?
Let me see 1 second.
Jose, you can pull up the
budget.
again.
Yeah. So, are you questioning here?
Yes. So if we look at the fleet budget, currently we are at $1.2 million. And let's say by year 32, we have gone 100% lease. That budget is now $1.4 million with the same number of cars. Is that because we're getting newer cars?
You said someone leaves?
No, I'm saying by year 32, now we are fully converted to lease. So that means we have 179 leased cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Now
I
the
can
budget
take
is
that.
more.
I can jump in here. Like Tajay mentioned, I'm Eddie Simon. I work closely with Tajay. So right now you're at 1.2. We're estimating you're at 1.2 for your budget today as a county, buying on average 6 vehicles per year cash. And that 1.2 is your total fleet budget, only making an acquisition of average 6 vehicles per year on this 185 sample. Once you're all in, if we're looking at 2032, all 179 vehicles, you're averaging 30 to 40 vehicles per year. So more than, double what you guys do today with 6. So you had a lease budget at 1.4, which is why it's increased, because you're naturally getting more vehicles than you're getting today every year. However, your maintenance has dropped significantly, your fuel has dropped significantly. And if you look at the equity lease column, you're getting, so let's just stay on line 2032. For instance, you have 1.4 lease, but you have 400,000 of equity that would be coming back to the county. So you drop that back down to 1 million, right? We separate that out because we want you all to know that at the end of the day, these are your funds. So your total lease payments hypothetically in 10 years will be 1.4 million. But you would also have 400,000 equity coming back to you that you have the choice to do with it. You may decide to take that and credit it towards your lease, which would drop it back down to 1 million. Or you may say, we can handle the 1.4 and we'll use this 400,000 for something else within the county, which is completely up to your discretion. So that's how that works out. So in this scenario, you would have to take that 400,000 equity minus to the 1.4 to get your total lease budget, which would come in under the 1.2. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. And the last question on the same slide is up top, it says annual miles. So we have that limit of miles, which is 7,500 miles.
No, sir. Great question. That is simply the average miles over this subset of vehicles that you all are doing. On average, this subset of vehicles is doing about 75 to 10,000 miles a year. So we're using that. But there is no mileage limitation. There is no wear and tear limitation. There's no early term limitation. None of that applies to this flexible leasing model.
Wonderful. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Director Ronald. Director Roberts.
I just had a question about, mine's centered on, I know we're in the middle of like Jill's on here, and I've talked to James Worthington, and I've also talked to other agencies, other transit agencies, about conversion to zero emission based buses. So, and we're looking to do that, in the next 5-6 years. But this goes out to 32. So, I mean, how does that impact this chart and the financials if we were to go with a zero emission fleet for the county?
Yeah, great question. So the model is set up just for 10 years, just for government purposes, so that you're allowed to kind of plan and budget for your upcoming years. With this model here, it can, as Heath was saying earlier, the model can always be adjusted depending on whatever your needs are. With you having zero emission vehicles planned to come up in the future, that's when your client strategy manager would meet with you, discuss with you exactly the parameters around getting those vehicles, see how those vehicles would benefit your fleet. It would provide you any cost savings of transitioning to those vehicles. But to update the model, it can always be done. Just because it says something now doesn't mean it can't change tomorrow, right? So whenever you want to update with different types of vehicles, different vehicle types, that's the goal. So our goal is to lower your expenses. So zero emission based vehicles are going to lower your cost of owning the vehicle. That's what we're looking to go to for you, if that's what you need, right? So our model can always be updated to whatever your likings are.
Right. Well, Director Roberts, you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. No, I heard him, and again, one more time, and Mr. Chair, I'm about to come to you. This whole conversation again is just for the public. Historically, we haven't maintained, whether it's our roads or our fleet, on a more formal rotational basis. It was as we went along. But the county has grown, obviously significantly, and so has the government as it relates to the assets that it owns. And again, whether it's the sheriff's vehicles or anything else, we get all we can out of them, but it's about efficiency. And so I appreciate your response from the 1.4 down to the 1, back up to 1.2. No, I get it. It's about efficiency over time. And we want our vehicles I want my sheriffs to be able to go chase those guys down. Same principle. Same thing over here. When you guys are out there doing the work of the people, you need to have assets that actually do us justice and are efficient. So I do get that. But this is a conversation. This is not just this moment, because it's a perfect time, right? Do we go to EV, electrical vehicles? That's a different room, different conversation. But as a board, I got to consider all this. Like, yeah, we are having those conversations over here, and then now we got the sheriff. We still got to deal with that. Like, I can't do that and not do this in isolation of that. So I got to be able to perceive all of this. So, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to take action to move it forward beyond just. I want to hear this out right now, because it sounds like it's shovel ready. You guys know what you're doing, but we have bigger considerations. It may come back to just this, or it may expand. But Mr. Chair, weigh in, sir. I mean, you're not bound in committee. You'll express yourself freely on what you're thinking right now. This is sort of like the early indication of how you can weigh in on something. So please, I'd love to hear your perspective, sir.
Well, I think my first question is, have we bid this out, or is this a professional service type thing, or is this a low bid, or will we be looking at other rental agencies to get an input from them to decide if we're getting a better deal or not?
I can probably speak to that. I can't speak obviously on behalf of the county as far as if this has been bid out. However, we, Enterprise Fleet Management, has been a part of a competitive bidding with Sourcewell, and we were able to secure and win the Sourcewell contract. So we can send all that information over to you all.
Okay.
But we need help with the question. But to that point, so to Mr. Chair, we still has Latanya Amos been involved in this at all?
Yes, we sent that Sourcewell agreement over to her.
Okay, but has she been involved up to this point?
Yeah, she was in our last meeting. She's not here today, but she was in our last
I think
meeting.
we would want to know what came. I would love to have her opinion on what came out of that meeting. The chairman is asking very specific questions. Okay, how are we going to engage? You did ask that in your presentation, and he's answering it. Like, okay, now how y'all gonna do this now? This is a big contract, and
Right.
want to make sure you do it clean. And so his first question, okay, now how y'all gonna do this? Are y'all gonna walk a vendor straight in and we gonna engage them? Is this professional services, or it's when I'm just listening, like, okay, we'll see how this is gonna go down. But again, we need somebody to weigh in on this. But go ahead, Mr. Chair. I want to make sure they recognize what you were asking. So go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Have we researched and talked to other governments or other people that might be involved in this type of program, and got any feedback from those folks?
Yeah. So what I can do is I can share our synopsis, but on the synopsis you'll see that we have already partnered with a few, multiple different agencies and cities and counties around the state of Georgia. Our territory is the state of Georgia. I was looking for some other counties that are similar in size of you guys, and Spalding and Rockdale County have 200, 300 plus vehicles in their county. And if you'd like to reach out to them, I can connect you with them as well. So that way you can ask them exactly how the program is going for them.
Okay. Commissioner Robinson, I'd like for us to have somebody do that and get their response. And nothing against Enterprise. I just if there's one thing I want to know if this is working for other cities and counties, and two, that we're getting the best price that we can possibly get for the vehicles.
So yeah.
Sure.
for the record, those two things need to be acknowledged. You can't even get to the board without making sure he needs assurance. So these are not just commentary. He needs assurance that when you guys get off this call, y'all double back with Director Power. Yeah, get your references, get all those things that where you've done it. Those are important decision-making points. So I mean, those are specific things that are going to be in our meeting minutes that we're going to be expecting. Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
Sir, this is Heath Coward.
Yeah, please weigh in, Heath.
Okay, so yeah, to that point, Chairman, I did get a list of his references as well as different partners. References that we contacted was County of Rockdale as well as Spalding. And they asked some questions. It was just how is this working for you type deal, like you just said, and it was very good, a reference for them. But I can do some more in depth if that's what you want, and send that to you, or I can wait until the next meeting and present it that way. However you want it, whatever time frame, let me know and we'll make it happen.
But to that point, but for us to make a recommendation to move this forward to the full Board of Commissioners, this committee has to be satisfied. So courteously, can you send that information to the committee members that are here so they can get their comfort on what they're saying that we should move this forward? So that's part of the process is, let us see it. So if you got data, I mean, again, think about it, guys, this is a pre-commercial. You're in front of two decision makers in the committee. So you're part of this. And I don't want y'all to discount or misread where you're at. So these are legitimate questions like, guys, we got you. We're hearing you. But at the same point, there's no obligation at this moment because this is a public forum. You're in a public forum and you're a vendor. And you're pitching. Now, if it was a full Board of Commissioners, it's a different story, but you're in a committee right now. So it's your context of where you're at right now. So we're preparing you to go before the full board. That's why we meet early. We weigh in. We're like, okay, all right, let's shape it this way. So you can anticipate the same questions that our peers are going to do it much more deeper when it gets to the next level. But to this point, and so Mr. Chair, follow me. Like, I get it. Y'all got to provide all that background. Got it. It's allowed. Got it. It's legal. What I'm looking for though, but the board want to look at options. I can't just look at just this fleet, just this silo, just this department, because I'm responsible for everything. I got to have the same conversation over here with the sheriff. That is a priority as well. So I'm like, okay, so if I were you guys, I would like, okay, step back from this, listen to what we asked for, but also like, since you got a flexible model, show me one that looks at the rest of the other things. Now you can leave it here, but then that means, all right, to Mr. Chairman's point, we'll go look at some other stuff, right? And so then if they're more flexible and say, look, we want you to look at all this stuff with us, but you're only wanting to look at just this, because this is like, okay, which our need is the whole system. And this is the first time we're trying to normalize and formalize the way we approach fleet management. So, this is a pilot program. Great. Love it. All right, got it. Let's prove it out. But we still got, we're in a big capital moment where, we're for the first time, we're in a position to actually replace our fleet for some of the other areas that you're not speaking of. So we're taking a concurrent action along with this. So if there's a way I can optimize this by having them together, great. All right, so we want to see some options. Y'all know how we do. We want to see, option A is 40. Option B is 180. Option C is the sheriff. Option D is all of the above or a la carte. But I'm just saying, that's what I would be looking for out of this, for me to support moving forward. Like, no, I want to see how y'all would approach this. I mean, you got our attention. You're here. I get it. I see it. But there's more to your client's needs here, which is we got the whole system, and we are looking at fleet across the board. But I'm not going to belabor this right now. I think there's still, you got probably one more round at this. I recognize the timing, but again, we're just now hearing this, and we're trying to line up these other things. So I'm not ready to take action on this, Mr. Chair, until we get what we need out of this committee. And we can always go another meeting, and then we'll go to the full board if in fact everything's there. But I need your direction, sir. How would you like to see this?
Well, first of all, I don't have anything against Enterprise. I really like what you presented to us, but I'm not convinced yet. And I think, based on what I've heard, is we're going to be saving about $60,000 per year over the next 10 years. Is that correct?
Correct. Roughly 87, but yes, sir. That's enough.
87. Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like a good program, but I want not only me to be clear, but the entire board to be clear about the service that you've provided to other counties and how they like that. And I like the concept, but I'm not there yet. But I'm sure you guys will get us there. Okay.
Sounds good, sir.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Chair. And so the point is that, again, he's looking for his assurance, and, again, his vote is going to matter. So I would highly encourage you guys to take that into consideration. He wants his 2 data points. If you've already got it, you got it. Great, you're on point. But but what's important to me as well is to make sure there's some other options that came out of this. We just expanded your scope of consideration. It's not saying that we're going to take off point. I mean, we could decide only on this, but I mean, it's on you if you want to take that extra effort to say we got a bigger need. I mean, you came in here like, well, why you at it? Why don't you look at this and look at this, look at this, look at this? And so that's up for you guys to do that as a vendor. But that's not a dictate. It doesn't work that way. We're just saying, well, this is where we are right now, and we appreciate you guys coming out. I've got to keep this committee meeting moving. Thank you for your presentation. Director Kawa, how would you like, are you clear on the 3 takeaways, the 2 things that the chairman brought up and the thing I brought up as far as the data for other options? Are you okay right now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So and then my last question would be really just, I get to Lisa, we're going to do this out of our operations. You're going to run this. All right. So do you have an existing relationship with right now, and how long have we been working with you? Have we done this with you? Are we a referenceable client?
Negative.
We're not?
Taji, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing Fleet has done or talked with Enterprise about would be the sheriff's vehicles, about doing them last year, doing a piece of that, much smaller than the scope we're looking at. So to combine, it's not going to be a problem.
All right. So so this is the same team that came before us last year. This is an important point, and that was dealing with the sheriff vehicles. Now it's 1 year later. I get it, and so now there's a more look like this group is ready to go faster than perhaps the sheriff, and so it evolved. So, Mr. Chair, so this group has already come before us before for the sheriffs. It's just that the board wasn't ready to move forward last year. We had to get through last year. Now we're into this year, and so now it's now it seems like they're ready to take action. But all right. Okay, let me think on this.
You guys have been working on this for quite a while. I would guess our transportation department has been talking to these people for a few months, and we're getting close to where they could present it to the entire board of commissioners. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm hearing. But we started with the sheriff.
That is correct, sir. I've been off and on with it from 2019. We've had some challenges with convincing the leadership swap changeover several times. But every time we've added to it and brought it back to the table, a better concept has never just been the same thing, got put on a shelf and we're going to try it again. We've refined it each and every time. It's the same company. This is a completely different team working with us today than it was a year ago or 2 years ago.
To that point, I mean, we get to COVID and the board. It just, again, these are capital expenditures. One of the things that we put a pause on last year, or going into last year, the elections, because again, there was a referendum. There was an assumption by the full board that perhaps we were going to replace our fleet, specifically sheriff, with cash. That is tied directly into the SPLOST, and it's a referendum item. All right, so there was certain decisions that the board made to sort of send us down a certain path. So within that public safety bucket of category, there's cash there to replace the entire fleet. 17 million. 17 million, we prepared for that. 17 million would replace all the sheriff vehicles and all everybody else. That's what that set aside was for. All right, so these are facts that you need to know. So if the board's mind was there, so now, all right, that's where we're at. Now we have that cash. We're not locked into, okay, so should we pay cash or should we lease? So you're helping us make decisions like, well, we already got cash, but we were not going to move on this contract until we got through the referendum to see, okay, what truly is our financial position? That's the board's responsibility for oversight. See, okay, I hear you. I hear all y'all got needs. Now everybody wants something, but okay, hold on. There's a way to do this. There's a more strategic way. And so now here we are. Now we're in a good place to make a decision. We're not in a bad place. It's just, well, now doesn't matter about administration. Now we're ready. You got something to work with. The public has blessed us and said, yeah, move forward. Replace those vehicles. Right? That was important. So I think that was important to have buy-in. It's just who we go with and what the terms are of the agreement. But you guys have been here. That was important to know. You started with the sheriff, but you're here over here. That's what I'm saying. Just hold on. There's no action to be taken right now because I wouldn't want to go to the board with just this alone. When I go, you go and get a decision for everything. Be done. Don't nickel and dime us with decisions when I can do it all at one time. Is there a better opportunity if we had a better contract? And like, well, we're talking about the whole fleet though. What can you do with that? I would like to know that question. So I would like, okay, guys, if we do just this fleet or we do the whole system, that's up to the staff. Y'all need to help. These guys got to help you present to the board. That's the next action. Y'all need to go offline, listen to what we just been framed for you, because these are the same things I'm going to bring up to my peers. And so it's like, okay, guys, they're supposed to bring us this type of stuff. And if they didn't bring it, that's not going to work out very well. Because the point is like, all right, guys, we're trying to prepare you, but those are things that you need to look at. They help us make the broader decision. So, all right, I got to keep this meeting moving. Guys, you did a great job, both you guys. Thank you for jumping on this. Director Coward, thank you so much for setting up this topic. And duly noted, no, it is it will be considered. It's just how we do this, and we need a chance to think about this. And you did a great job, guys. I mean, I followed it all the way through. So thank you. All right, Mr. Chair, you okay with that? I got to keep this going. We got to stay on time.
Well, I do. I just have one more question.
Yeah, please, go ahead, sir.
Or one more statement. Director Coward, I would appreciate maybe after this meeting or for you and I to set up a time where there's a telephone conversation or in person. And I'd just like to pick your brain a little bit before we go forward. And you know what I'm asking, and I don't want to put you on the spot in the meeting, is that something we're recommending as employees of Douglas County government, or how do we feel about it? And we can answer those questions when we're on the phone with each other.
Yes, sir. That'd be great.
You guys got that. Y'all take that offline. Got you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right, got it. All right.
Sure.
Managing Director Ronald, let's keep us going. Both good topics, great conversations. Let's keep going.
Yes, sir. So the next item is Department of Transportation updates, and I'll go ahead and share my screen. So the slide before you shows our ongoing construction project, which is Stewart Mill Road at Reynolds Roads intersection improvement project. This project, the goal of this project is really to widen the intersection, add turning lanes to facilitate turning movements, add sidewalks, improve drainage design, and also extend and rebuild, partially rebuild 2 culverts that are currently in place. This project is about 60% complete. We are anticipating completion in October of this year. Before us is a change order number 3 request from the contractor. The contractor on this project is a Corbett. It's a local contractor called the Corbett Group LLC. With this change order, if accepted by this committee and the board, the revised contract amount would be about $2.4 million. Initially, we started off with a budget allocation of about $2.7 million under SPLOST 2016. Just to cover a few things, what this change order covers is upon excavation and just when we're getting ready to rebuild part of Reynolds Road. Our geotech investigation evaluated some ground conditions, the soil conditions, and it was concluded that there are some unfavorable conditions that could impact the longevity of the pavement that was proposed on Reynolds Road. So what had happened is, and as you can see on the pictures, is there was a lot of foreign substance found in the soil. So with organics or anything that's not residual, it's a fill, does not serve as a good base for road pavement. So what had to happen was really ideally would have a very clean fill or residual that would support our pavement, which wasn't the case in this situation. So what ended up being the recommendation from the engineer of record and the contractor was to replace or place 225 cubic yards of Class A concrete with aggregate base to make sure that our base is firm enough and hold up in the long term, and then pave over it to make sure that we don't have to come back and repair this segment in the next 2, 3, or 5 year time frame. And if we were to proceed with the unsuitable soil, what happens is we often see spider cracking, alligator cracking on roadway pavements. As you can see on the picture on the right, there were some excessive cracking on Reynolds and Stuart Mill Road to start off with. So this, I believe, was the core of the issue, and we want to fix it while we're on this. The second part of the change order, or what I'm covering is really the core of the change order. The second part is really the sides of that road. On each end of Reynolds Road, as you can see, while concrete base addresses the pavement issues, we have to have structurally sound fill placed on left and right of this road that can support really the compaction of our subgrades, but also support the sidewalk, the curb and gutter drainage structures that we're putting in. So in that case, what we have to do is we don't have to put concrete, but we still have to excavate that not suitable fill and then backfill with the structurally sound soil. And that amounts to about 350 cubic yards of undercut and then backfill with the suitable soil. Combined with all of these factors, the change order amount was $195,000. And I'm open for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director Rolla. All right, so I'm following this. So this is something that your predecessor, Director Valentin, we used to talk about, and I need you to now own it and help guide us from a transportation thought leadership perspective. That most of the roads in Douglas County, once we were dirt roads, right? We've got a bunch of cow pastures, cow lanes. And the substrate, and I'm getting in your world, whatever case, it was very thin. It was just like, okay, we just not Chicago, this ain't Atlanta, and the thickness is different out here. It's like with Lee Road, we had like, okay, look, when we put more into Lee Road to make it thicker, heavier because of the volume and density. Do you see that as an issue going forward? As that basically when you have asphalt and you're putting lotion on the road, okay, but the skin, we're talking about the skin and the muscle below that, it needs to be thicker to hold. We just wipe it on, and but beneath it, it's going away. I get it. I understand. It's dries, whatever the case, it's not holding. I get it. But does that have it sounds like that has a policy impact, monetary policy impact from the perspective. Okay, do we need to make things thicker? Is our RFQs now need to have a different set of degree of compression? I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
In other words, do we need to change? Go ahead, weigh in.
Yes, sir. No, that is a great point. And while Douglas County certainly has that problem, that problem is shared across many other local jurisdictions. And what had happened was converting from dirt roads into asphalt pavement is you go with the standard fix for all and basically apply a thickness or a standard thickness that may not be suitable for every roadway and every use. What we're doing currently is for any major roadway design that we're undertaking now, we're following a pavement design tool that was created by GDOT's OMED office that deals with pavement, soils, and all of the geotech matters. What that tool does is that takes into account the classification of the roadway, the existing usage, which we do at the start of our project. We take counts of how many vehicles are using this road and how many vehicles are going to use for the next 20 years. Now, given that data, we use that tool to evaluate what's the optimal length or thickness of pavement that we need. And then it has its own criteria that tells us or suggests an optimal thickness or an asphalt typical section that we must abide by. So going forward, that is something we're procedurally applying to our projects here. That automatically gets applied to any federal or state aid projects, but our goal is to implement that throughout the county, even on county projects. And what that would do is that would help extend the life of these pavements, and sometimes even help cost and go with a thinner thickness when we don't need such a thick typical, but in most cases help with the long-term maintenance of these roadways, given the extended center lane miles that the county maintains.
All right, so what is the cost of this action item?
So this specific change order is $195,000, $161.
Like 195,000, 165, all right, 195,000. So what was the original cost? I mean, what is
The contract original cost was a little over $2.1 million.
Right, so this is one of those big projects that, and this is SPLOST based, right?
Yes, sir. This is lost.
Right. So so again, it happens. Right now, you got to make an amendment to an agreement, a change order. So it's going up 195. Got it. And do we have excess inside the transportation budget out of 2016 that can absorb this?
Sir, we actually have the current budget allocation enough that we can absorb this.
Okay.
And
so we don't have to go down the list. I mean, go back in the kitty. The project had original budget amount that it still fits. They're still within budget.
Exactly, sir. We started off with 2.7. With this change order, if accepted, we'd still be looking at $2.4 million.
Right. And so how much more is going to be needed to finish it? Will you be able to do it still within that amount?
Sir, with 60% of the project completed, we don't see any big change orders coming down the pipeline. And then again, construction is a little tricky and things can happen, but quite frankly, I think we'll be well within our allocation as we approach towards completion.
All right, so still got about 300,000. So we have to handle maybe 1.5 of these more change orders without having to amend the overall budget line item. All right, I got it. All right, any questions? Mr. Chair, you okay with this? This is what District 4? Where is this at? District 4?
District 3, sir.
District 3, all right. District, all right.
Yes, I'm good with it.
Yes, sir. All right, keep going, guys.
Sir, if I can make a motion at this point. So I make a motion that this committee recommends change order number 3 with the Colbert Group LLC for full board approval.
Very good. We have a
Second.
motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All
Ron
right,
Roberts.
Second is Ron Roberts. Second, yep. We need your name for the record. Got it. Ron Roberts did the second. Any further discussion? No discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor, say yes. All against, say no. You have to say your name and your vote just for the record so that we can capture right. Kelly Robinson's vote yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
All right, Suleiman Rana, yes. What was the other
Ron
person?
Roberts, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Coward, yes.
Eve Cower, yes. Mr. Chair.
Bill Miller, yes.
Yes, sir. Is that all the voting members that's here, guys, still? Nobody?
Yes,
No.
sir, that's all.
Tiffany did not show up. All right, got it. So we got a unanimous vote. This passes on to the full Board of Commissioners. Great. Keep going. All
right, so the next topic is just some educational information on one of the recent complaints we've gotten. This has to do with the train operations within the county and the train horns that have been excessively used in the residential neighborhoods in Douglas County. While this is an ongoing effort, I just wanted to bring it before the committee so we can update you with the progress and just give you some information on what it takes to actually establish these quiet zones. So we received a complaint from your office about train horns along US 78. This is a Norfolk Southern operated railway. Of course, this passes along a well-developed residential neighborhood or various neighborhoods, and the complaint was about excessive horns, especially at the nighttime. The trains are definitely operating at an extensive schedule where they've added few rides at the nighttime too. So recently, the residents have observed these horns at the nighttime, which definitely can be very inconvenient for people trying to sleep. The complaint that we're focusing on is located in District 1, just off of Riley Road and US 78. There are 6 adjoining railroad crossings to this address. The 6 are marked yellow on top of the screen. The first one being at North Sweetwater Road, and the last one being at North Burnt Hickory Road. For us to establish, first of all, all 6 railroad crossings are at-grade railroad crossings. Per federal laws, anytime a train is approaching an at-grade railroad crossing, they have to sound the horns at least 50 seconds to 20 seconds before they approach the at-grade railroad crossing. Now, as a county, we have an option to pursue establishing quiet zones on these railroad crossings, but we have to note that the purpose behind these horns is to ensure safety and just sound the alarm that if somebody is thinking about trying to cross these railroad crossings, they can basically not do so. Now, if the county wants to suggest something otherwise, we have an option of establishing the quiet zones. What this does is that it evaluates the risk conditions of the crossing, the safety measures that are in place, and historically what has been the safety records of those crossings. And if those are all justifiable indexes, we submit an application to FRA, Federal Railroad Administration, and if they approve it, we put up the operator puts up the signs where the trains are prohibited from honking their horns when approaching those railroad crossings. The biggest thing that we have to consider is, while this is safety related, for us to request a quiet zone, we have to calculate, there's a formula calculation for something called Quiet Zone Risk Index, QZRI, which basically looks at the past 5 years of crashes and then compares it with the FRA standards. And if you're below those standards, we have a high chances of getting our application approved. If we are higher than the national average, and this is considering the crashes, the fatalities and all that, then it's almost a no for those quiet zones. If for any reason we're above the national average, for us to request a quiet zone, we have to install something called Supplementary Safety Measures, which is SSMs. These are the 4 approved SSMs from FRA that could cost from anywhere from few thousands up to $500,000 if we're going towards 4-quadrant grade system. Now, that is really the process that we're trying to follow, and so far we've never done this before, and this is the first time we're trying to establish a quiet zone in Douglas County. But I just wanted to go through the process so the committee and the public can learn about what it takes to actually establish one. And currently we're in a stage where we're collecting data, we're collecting counts, we're collecting past crash records, so we can run those formula calculations and basically fill out that application to see where we stand as far as safety is concerned. And then given our current standing, we'll come back to the committee to report our progress and get their direction, and if they want us to proceed with establishing those quiet zones. So that is just an update on one of the recent complaints we've gotten, and we just wanted to walk through those steps so the committee and the people can understand what it really takes to establish those quiet zones. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rana. Good information, and again, this is something that I even have it down on in my district, at least across the river. You have citizens that live along Riverside that are also disturbed by that spur and that set of rail as well, though it's over in a different county. But nonetheless, I'm going alongside there. So this is good information. Obviously, we can't take any action at this particular point. That there's some education that needs to be done. We know the sovereignness of the railroad. We get it. We get what they represent. But to know that there's a process that this could be done, it should be considered. But here's my only caveat. This is Mr. Chair. Like, yeah, but I'm thinking I got to hedge the railroad side though, the crossing. So y'all gonna put some gates up? Because I do want to know. I mean, I've known we've had at least 5 accidents since I've been in office, and those were just ones that have hit my radar screen. And so, I mean, now we're talking about mobility. Chairman, I know you being your prior background, you know how people move at night, you know how things move. And so, all right, so we're saying what? We're not gonna blow the horns, and I know it's an inconvenience, but we know y'all live there along the railroad track. But now, you know how fast these trains move, and we're gonna do what now at night? But I'm balancing. I get the inconvenience, but it's not could we do this, but should we do this? And I get it. And I mean, again, if there's enough desire from the community for something like this. All right, so here's my question: will we have to have a public hearing for something like this?
No, sir. We wouldn't need one. We'll just directly coordinate the application process with FRA. This was merely just to present the progress and
Yes.
the educational aspect of it to you and the team.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you guys come back with. I mean, I appreciate the consideration and your approach to it. Ms. Chair, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I learned a lot. I have myself worked several deaths in some of those areas over a 40-year span. You bring up a good point. Even if we could do it, should we do it? And, I certainly am compassionate about the people that are woken up at night with the train horns, but I think safety would probably be more important than the aggravation.
No, duly noted. I understand, willing to take it up, but not necessarily take action today. Ron, I know this. You're not asking for action. This is just a status, and I appreciate it. Again, your approach was perfect. And that's all I want you to do is educate us on what we're looking at here. Sometimes it's sort of like it's a nuisance. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will probably say yes, do it, but it's not. Could we do it? To your point, because again, the safety thing is that okay, but while you're inconvenienced, we lose a couple more citizens over something that we undid that like it's for protection. Now I guess all right. So here's my question. So if we didn't do it and he doesn't blow the horn, do we still? I recognize that I can't see it, but do we still have the railroad things to come down? Do those still come down?
Yeah, yes, sir. They do. Regardless of the horns, is just an added measure. And then if we don't have those SMMs or the bells and whistles at these railroad crossings, it's already a safety risk, and it's FRA would just not let us proceed anyway. But the 6 railroad crossings that we are looking at for this specific address, they all have the safety measures that are needed, especially the gate that come up and that go down when the train is approaching. So that would be operational as it is.
And they do work effectively. In other words, nobody's going to get caught inside the rail going in. It's like they start blinking and you got time to get through. There's no traffic backup. Again, the trains move fast, and people, it's anticipating it coming that fast, that strong. But again, the data will tell us the truth, to Mr. Chair's point. I think the data will help us better understand. But that's all I got right now on this. I'm good for now. I'm good. All right. Anybody else got any comments on this? If not, Director Ronald, let's keep us going. Get us on through.
So that was all I had, and we're at the end of our agenda for today.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything to this? All right, so real quick, transportation. Since we're in the transportation committee, and David Good, I need you to be on standby. So again, how much have we allocated in the transportation category of this SPLOST? What is that number, guys?
Sir, for 2016 SPLOST?
No, 2022.
2022. So we were given 27.4%.
28% is to transportation. And within that, let's assume, what's the assumption by way of how much, how does that translate into dollars?
Right off the bat, sir, we were asked to assume $100 million collection, and that puts us at $27.4 million for transportation.
27 million. And if I compare 2016, at that time, transportation was what, 51% of the overall? And what was the amount of that at the beginning that we assumed? I'm just trying to compare apples to apples.
Yeah, so that was 51%, or that would be about $51 million towards transportation.
$51 million versus $27 million. All right, so this is the point of the trade-off that we made, that the public said the public safety was the number one priority, so more emphasis was to ensure that the sheriff and other people got taken care of. Like the first SPLOST was all the sheriff. This one seems to be all fire and EMS. Okay, so now this third one is more balanced. But we got those are some very healthy eating departments, and which rightfully so, and I have no problem with it. But it squeezes transportation. I mean, because it's just as important. And we won't get into a T-SPLOST or another funding mechanism for this. So my point being, out of that $27 million that you've got to work with, what's the split between road and maintenance and other stuff? like intersection? Like what's going to resurfacing? What percentage out of that 27 million is resurfacing?
Sir, it's been 35% for 2016 and 35% for 2022. So in dollar amount, for 2016 SPLOST, it was about $18 million. For 2022 SPLOST, it would be about $9.5 million.
It's almost half.
Yes, sir.
Right. So that's important. So so what we did in 16 SPLOST, we got on, we did as much as we can, but now it's slowed down just by that order of magnitude. We don't have as much money against it. So it's about setting the public's expectation. We're going back to the LMIG. Again, y'all in the state, I mean, while they giving us a little bit more, but that list is long. These roads are old. And again, we're just trying to come up with the right balance and how we can do this. And again, we thank the public for this. It's already locked. I mean, this is all we got to work with. So my point is, this is all we got. And so it's going to have to last us another 6 years, and that's fine. Thank you, public. We appreciate it, but we're also just setting expectations that it won't be to the magnitude of our last loss. Because again, the priorities this year, this round was in that area, which was public safety. So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to bring that out. Again, I know we're going to have more conversation with that, especially when we get to the mid-year retreat regarding this. But any thoughts on that? I mean, just to, again, we've got a SPLOST. It's going to help us, but it won't have the same impact because we rebalance it differently. It's heavily public safety.
Well, that was very informative to know how much money we have to spend. I know from experience we do not have near enough to take care of the roads in Douglas County, so we're just going to have to repair the ones that are the most used and the most important, and hopefully the citizens will understand that. Of course, it's very hard for you to make me understand potholes in the road, so I don't expect them to understand too much, to be honest with you. But we're going to do the best we can with what we got, and that's my take on it.
That's it. That's all you got to say. Got it. And again, this is just for the public that we covered it. We do talk about these things. We talk about policy. We don't do it behind closed doors. We do it right here on the floor, right in front of our citizens. So this is a good debate. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for those comments. All right, guys, anything else that needs to come before this committee? Well, if not, again, we appreciate it, guys. We want to keep this moving. So thank you so much for tuning in to June 21st, 2023 Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Let this committee meeting stand adjourned.